So thank you, Professor Bassamo. So welcome to my talk. My name is Davide Brunelli from University of Trento, and I will present to you these considerations, this work done together with my group. So it's a work done by Doglioni, Matteo, Nardello from Università of Trento, and from Dr. Roberto, Rosa from STMicroelectronics about this type of system that is a completed battery-less system. So the work that the talk will address what is the background, what is a plant microbial fuel cell for people that does not know it, what are the main challenges in terms of electrical characteristics of this type of energy harvesting, and then what we developed to have a sort of feedback loop in order to improve the efficiency of this system. So the context where we are moving is the context of battery-free sensor nodes. Battery-free means that we don't want to use battery to run our application. If we need an accumulator, we prefer to use supercapacitor because they are more sustainable. There are already on the market supercapacitors made on fully sustainable material like aluminum and cellulose. So actually, it is a more way and friendly and environmental friendly way to develop battery-free nodes. From the point of view of the energy source, we decide to use microbial fuel cell because actually, in contrast to solar panel, solar cell, they provide a constant power generation, regardless the day and night, regardless the source of the wind. And they actually exploit and let's say, a magic combination that is available on any soil of the earth. The presence of some type of bacteria, later we will deal better with it, the presence of the soil and some plants. So together we have a sustainable way to provide our energy to our sensor node. So in general, before dealing in detail, plant microbial fuel cell are an environment where you use the soil and bacteria in the soil and the presence of the plant to have a continuous power generation, regardless of the other type of energy harvesting devices. They provide energy thanks to some family of bacteria called electrogenic, and we also deal with it later. And let's say all the energy, if the cell is properly maintained, let's say if we have this type of feedback, we generally, potentially, we have electricity as long as the plant likes. So, microbial fuel cell is not a new field. There has been several years of work on this type of system, okay? They are mainly used in the past like biosensor, for example, to determine what is the context of the environment where this fuel cell works. So they are used like a small electrical transducer that take note about the condition of the environment that you want to monitor. They are also used as for a system like bioremediation, so there are some solutions that use microbial fuel cell to let's say, treat water, remove any metals, pollutants from the environment. And recently, thanks to the fact that, you know, the electronic device become less and less power consuming, now the energy that a small volume of fuel cell can provide is just enough to power any type of smart sensor. So recently, we have this type of power source for wireless sensor network. So in the field of biosensing, the environment that you want to measure, let's say, thanks to a plant change according to the state of the soil, and this type of fuel cell can be promptly provide the difference of the electrical characteristic in terms of magnitude, also phase of the signal, okay? So this is biosensing. There is a plenty of material. If you look at the paper, we have provided a plenty of references. As a form of bioremediation, as we have already said, microbial fuel cells in the past are used to remove heavy metals like cadmium, chromium from the environment, from the soil, make the waste water treatment. So the insight behind to use this type of electrochemical reaction to degrade some pollutant material is more in some other materials that are more eco-friendly, okay? But what we want to put the evidence from this and the previous one, we can use this type of methodology, mechanism also to provide a feedback about the status of the soil. And together with the fact that now we can use microbial fuel cell to power a real wireless sensor network. There are already plenty of deployments. We can have something that actually can live forever, okay? So what I want to introduce are the challenges and also the opportunity given by this new type of power generation for our wireless sensor. So how this fuel cell actually works, okay? So they are called, there are two parts, the plant role and the microbial fuel cell role. So let's, at the moment, focus on the microbial fuel cell keyword. They are fuel cell, so actually they act as a galvanic cell, okay? But let's keep just some theory for people that is not in the field. When you have some cell, you can have a galvanic cell or you can have an electrolytic cell. The difference is in a galvanic cell, the reactions are spontaneous. There are always redox reactions, so oxidation reaction and reduction reaction. So there are some electrons that are generating, and you must be very, very clever to catch it for powering your system. In electrolytic cell, of course, is different. You have to provide power to work in some way with your microbial fuel cell. And for example, this is a way where microbial fuel cells are used for bioremediation. At the moment, in this presentation, we don't care about that. We care about, we focus on the use of microbial fuel cell as a generator, okay? So since we have a generator and we have some reduction and oxidation chemical reaction, we have in the soil a lot of family of bacteria. Some of them are called electrogenic. That means that during their natural living, because they are living creatures, they facilitate some reaction of oxidation close to a region where if you put an anode, they can create electrons. The anode and the cathode are made by graphite or carbon felt, so they must be conductive, and then you can connect this anode and cathode with titanium wire to avoid also some galvanic connection between the probe and the wires and so on. So you create a conductive path from internally in the soil to outside. The bacteria family, the electrogen bacteria family, will create an anode biofilm around the anode, and they facilitate this oxidation reaction. So the electrons are generated. We will capture this electron as soon as possible instead of leaving the electron free to move and to recombine quickly. So we extract this electron and we power our sensor node. Later, electrons are given back to the cathode, and so we have the second reaction like reduction. So electrons will generate, according to material in the soil, water and so on. So we close the circuit of this galvanic cell. Of course, there are plenty of different microbial fuel cells, depends on the type of the bacteria. There are, most of the electrogenic bacteria works as for the oxidation reaction, while the reduction can happen abiotically, okay? But there are also some family in some soils where you have electrotroph bacteria. So they actually facilitate a reduction reaction, but in any case, the galvanic process is completed anyway. And so far, we are discussing about microbial fuel cells. So a fuel cell where the membrane in the middle between cathode and anode actually does not exist, but consists of the soil with this type of family of bacteria. What is the role of the plant? If you use a microbial fuel cell in a closed environment like a pot, of course you can understand that sooner or later it is like a gauge where these living creatures sooner or later will die because of they are starving. There are no new feed for their living. So you have to provide a food for these bacteria. And so that's the role of the plant. If you put a plant nearby the solar cell, the photosynthesis of the plant, of course, it is beneficial for the plant, for everyone else, but actually they produce from the roots some exudates that are actually the feed for this type of bacteria. Actually, it is not really true. These exudates serve for all the family of bacteria in the soil. I usually say that the soil is a sort of jungle where there are different species of bacteria that challenge each other, fight each other to have the dominance. And what we want to do is to create a favorable environment for growing the electrogen bacteria that we need, okay? As said, the literature is plenty of this type of study. The combination between plants, the shape and the distance between cathode and anode, the combination between plants and the type of bacteria is very high, and there are a lot of work in the field about this type of study. You can see any combination between the type of plants that you want, the type of soil, the type of bacteria that you want, and so you can do a lot of combinations. There are plenty of reviews, okay? Because as I said, microbial fuel cell is not new. What is really new or recently new is the usage of this as a power source and not just as a sensor or just a method to make bioremediation. What we selected in our work are some plants from the C4 specimen and other type of plant that later I will discuss. Of course, there are also plenty of literature about the type of power and the type of work that you can use. So the application on microbial fuel cell in literature are uncountable, I would say, and there are plenty of type of combinations that we can use. Okay, so enter into detail. There are some combinations that are actually better than others. In literature, there are already some solutions, for example, where the probes, or actually the anode and the cathode, are put in vertically. There are other solutions that are specifically designed for hydroponic agriculture, let's say, or places where the water is much more consistent, so your soil is actually more like a mud or very, very wet. And there are also solutions where the microbial fuel cell is internally buried and there are some oxygen insuffled inside the cathode. And let's say the anode and the cathode acts as a cylindrical fuel cell. So now that we know how the plant microbial fuel cell work and what are the potentiality, let's give a look to the electrical characteristics and the challenges that we have today. We did a lot of experiments in the past years, but the first thing that we did is to do an electrical characterization of this type of generator. This type of generator actually acts as a normal voltage generator, so we expect to have the maximum power point around the middle of the open circuit point. It acts a liter, so a decimeter cubic volume of this fuel cell will produce roughly, when it is in an healthy state, around 1 milliwatt. And the open circuit voltage reaches at maximum 1 volt. That you know it is quite challenging, because if you have to power an electronic device that works at 3.3, you have to use a step-up or a DC-DC converter, or you have to design a specific voltage conversion circuit. And in most of the cases, this voltage conversion circuit has a starting point that is around 0.5, 0.6, so actually close to a normal operation of the fuel cells that is not an empty state. Moreover, the internal resistance of this generator is not ideal, is quite high, okay? That means a large drop if you request more current than necessary. We made also some measurement. We created several fuel cells with different plants or with different combination, and measuring the open circuit voltage over a long time. This is a measurement of 4, 5, 6 months, I don't know, from October to last February, let's say, last year. And as you can see, there are several characteristics that are not predictable. The first of all is the startup. The startup is defined when the fuel cell open circuit voltage reaches a level that is usable for your DC-DC converter, okay? And actually it takes some weeks in some cases, in some other cases it takes even more, some months. So it is completely unpredictable even if you have the same combination of soil and plant and you have done the same cell in the same period in the same day. Then when the cell is active and you actually can use it, the period where the cell is actually living again change from several months to 1 year. In general, most of our fuel cell last 5, 6 months, but we have also some cases that was planted, let's say in 2022, and they are still living, they are still providing power, so they are still active. But sooner or later, in most of the fuel cell, you have a sort of degradation in the end that is no more recoverable, and actually you have to rebuild your fuel cell. And we will see later what happened when you are going into degradation. As you can see in this plot, of course, every time marked by these stars, you are watering the fuel cell. Actually, you have a ramp up of the power generation and the voltage supply that is possible for your system, because, of course, power will lower the internal resistance and will facilitate the conduction inside your fuel cell. There are also some points that are some additional tests that we did in the fuel cell, not only the open circuit voltage measurement, that are quite stressing for the fuel cell. And as you can see, these measurement points that we did are very well acceptable and accepted by the fuel cell when it is active, but they increase, they accelerate the degradation if you do when the fuel cell is already going to die. As said, we did several combinations, not all between plants. For example, we use Colocasia Scott, we use also Papiro plants, and different soils, different combination of waters, size of electrodes, anodes and cathodes, and so on. And not all the combination reaches the successful usage of the fuel cell. In some cases, you never fully activate your fuel cell, and they are not really usable for powering your sensor node, even if you have the same combination. So, knowing all these, we started, let's say, to power our simple sensor node with a fuel cell. We put in the middle a simple DC-DC converter, very high efficient DC-DC converter, but in any way a DC-DC, commercial one, with a supercapacitor, and we use a commercial sensor node. It is a BF tag provided by STMicroelectronics. It is already designed to be self-powered without any batteries. We remove the solar cell on the top, and we power this node just likely with the power from the Microbial fuel cell. This node is equipped with a Bluetooth radio tag, and the software was designed to trigger a Bluetooth beacon, whatever the content of the information of this beacon was not important at the moment, as soon as the level of the energy in the supercapacitor was sufficient to send the beacon away. So as you can see, in the principle, at the beginning when the fuel cell is activated, we have a very frequent send of packet. But very, very soon, in terms of some tenths of minutes, if you stress the fuel cell continuously to throw power to send beacons, the transmission space out and becomes very, very infrequent. And very, very soon, you degrade your fuel cell that is no more usable. And so the question is, what happened to the fuel cell if you ask continuous power drain? It could be that the DC-DC converter, that is a commercial one again, and designed to have a A maximum power point tracker, typical of commercial harvester, so open circuit voltage for solar cell or another type of maximum power point tracker for normal commercial, let's say, energy harvester. This type of maximum power point does not work for this type of fuel cell. That is reasonable, and later I will explain why. The second is the fact that what we say we adapt and then we confirm it, you cannot drain continuous power from your microbial fuel cell. This is the wrong way to use it. You have to create intervals between the usage and the usage of the fuel cell, and give the fuel cell the time to give a rest and make the colony of bacteria ready again to produce electrons. And this is also confirmed by this, okay? These are two plots from the system that I presented before. The first thing that we can see is every time you detach, let's say, the fuel cell from the supercapacitor to measure what is the open circuit voltage of the fuel cell, you do that immediately the actual open circuit voltage of the cell. You have to wait some seconds, and in some cases some minutes. So actually the voltage that the DC-DC converter measure is not the actually open circuit voltage. And whatever is the algorithm of the maximum power point track, then will be wrong, because you measure something that you don't use or is useless. And it is quite simple to understand. Any type of harvester that we are using, whatever it is, piezoelectric material for vibration, solar cell, thermoelectric generators, they exploit the physical phenomena. And these physical phenomena are quite immediate, like cause a reaction with the physical phenomena that generate the electricity. For example, if you are light, you have immediately the open circuit voltage, because the silicon will generate immediately electrons for you. In the fuel cell, you don't have a physical phenomenon. You have a chemical phenomenon. So you have to wait for the reaction. You have to wait that these living creatures generate or facilitate the chemical reaction. So you need to wait time to have the final correct measurement. More or less like happened with the batteries. If you have a batteries and you remove the battery from your equipment and you wait for a while, the nominal voltage of the battery will increase. And this is the same. So, other type of problem or challenges that we have with the fuel cell is the low voltage and the low current generation. We can do a lot with 1 milliwatt from 1 liter of volume, but anyway, we have at maximum 1 milliwatt. So you have to be very careful to manage it in your sensor node. There's low dynamics, so what we have already said. You don't know when the fuel cell is actually activated. This is an example. We created the fuel cell. We start to measure the open circuit voltage. And after a while, you have the real activation of the fuel cell. When the voltage is below some region, actually you cannot do very, very much about that. And so the startup period is not replicable or predictable. You have a slow dynamic between the maximum power point and the open circuit voltage that you want to measure. But the most important is you don't know what happened at the biofilm. You don't know what happened in the anode and the cathode. If they work in a different way what you expect, of course you have a degradation of your system. And the only information about the open circuit voltage is not enough to understand what happened inside. And there are two ways to know what happened inside your fuel cell when it starts working bad. The first one is doing a destructive measurement, and of course it is destructive, so you don't have the fuel cell anymore. You cannot use the open circuit voltage, so the second way is to use an impedance measurement. And the impedance measurement actually is what you do to understand what happened at the electrode. There are several phenomena that can appear to degrade the efficiency of your fuel cell. First of all, you can have biofouling. That means some non-conductive layer created by other bacteria or other microorganisms that interpose between the real conductive cell and your probes. Or you may have some debris, so some pollutants or some dead bacteria that are no more useful, but they are in the middle and they degrade the conduction between the place where the electrons are generated and your probe. Or you, depending on the plant, the salinity of the water, you can have also salt formation. Again, something that is in the middle between the place of the generation of electrons and the way you want to collect your electrons. Okay, so what did we do? We did ICE, electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, in a sensor node. This sensor node is actually powered. So ICE measures very, very well the condition of the plant. In particular, we did several measurements with very active plants and plants that are struggling. And you can see that during the time, plants that are struggling become dead and dead, while plants that are active maintain the magnitude of the ice and the phase of the ice quite well recognizable in your measurement. Instead of doing this type of measurement in the laboratory, we implemented a sensor node that uses the anode and the cathode in a twofold manner. Of course, the natural usage of the anode and cathode is to recharge your battery. When we have enough energy, we switch anode and cathode, and they became probes for doing ACE measurement with the onboard silicon node. We do this measurement, we process this measurement, and if the energy is enough, we send also the result using the LoRa packet. And of course, the algorithm will do several phases from cold start to accumulating energy to do the measurement and to send the data. And everything is done with only 3.64 joule of energy that is easily reachable if you have a 1 farad capacitor working between 1.8 and 3.6 volt. And the measurement that we did using this type of node actually are very, very close to the laboratory test that was done with professional instrumentation. And this, let's say, said us that now we have a self-powered node that you can put in any fuel cell that can help you to implement your whole application, so taking whatever measurement, temperature, humidity in a smart agricultural field, but together can do also this feedback measurement to assess every time the status of your microbial fuel cell. I think that it's all. What are the positive aspects? Fuel cells are a generator that can work ideally 24 hours every day. And with an ACE measurement done directly on the pot, on the soil, we can also provide feedback and the correct usage for achieving this infinite time power supply, and also fully sustainable. Thank you again for the time, and if you have any questions, comments.